Hello there, welcome to Guitar Building with Glibas. Today we are staining this guitar. So just like my previous build, my plan is to use leather dyes to dye this guitar and to stain it in a very nice way, hopefully. This is going to be a multi-day process. The whole finishing department, it will take around a week or so, because I will basically need to wait for each layer to cure for some time. It will end up being a day or so, I believe. So today we are going to start with our first level of stain. So it's going to be jet black. As I mentioned before, I have something excellent planned for this build. The plan is to cover it all in black, and then on the next day, when it's dry, I'm going to sand it off. Now, if you remember, we have this nice wood texture, and what will end up happening is that the black will penetrate this texture, and then when we will lightly sand it down, the color is going to come out, but just from the top parts. So the high parts are going to have no color, and the wood texture, it's going to be more black. So we are going for kind of, I don't know, I would say not a burst, a very nice look, almost etched. So let's start with the black. Before staining, I already made sure that all the parts that I don't want the stain to go over are masked off. So you're essentially applying stain just to the top part and going just a little bit over the edge. So these parts, like horns, they're also remaining natural. And this is what we are covering from this side. So pretty much just the top. So we can now go ahead and, well, mix the stain really well and apply our first layer. And this will be it for today. So we are going to be waiting for some time for this layer to cure before going ahead and doing other layers. So taking a piece of cloth and just applying some stain to it. I will close off the dye because I don't want to risk spilling it over. And there we have our black dye. So let's go ahead and stain it. So the idea here is that we have to make sure that the stain penetrates those deep wood texture that we laid down. You see, as I'm going over, it kind of stays natural, but that's not what we have planned for this. Our plan is for the stain to really penetrate it. And we seem to be running out of stain, so let me get a bit more. Actually, I'm quite liking this look of texture not being colored. That's pretty interesting. I haven't thought of it, to be honest. But again, that's not what we are going for. This is just a base layer for us. So we want the stain to really penetrate deep. And we might end up having to use a small brush to make this happen, which is, I'm totally fine with it. Yep, I think we might need to use brush to make that happen. Piece of cloth is not quite doing it. So I'll go over the whole thing with some black again, especially those areas which I did not cover as much. I think we have to switch over to a brush. I did not quite expect that, to be honest. But, well, if you have to do this, you have to do this. Which is totally okay. Ja, genau. Soll ich nachher so gut? Ja, so. Okay, so even though we slightly deviated from the plan, I think it's still a win for layer 1. So now I have to wait for it to cure overnight, and then the next day the plan is to take it off with, I think, 400 grit sandpaper, and to do it again with a different color. So I just sanded this thing down, and I could not share this with you, because if you're somewhat familiar with Kissel guitars, they have exactly this type of finish, and they're calling it antique ash. Doesn't this look just great? I still have some pigment to remove, but other than that, it's looking great. So I decided to leave this fully black, so that we have some diversification and that the line for the right hand axis is a bit more emphasized. And also the same goes for the outline on the rounded over edge. It's a little bit more emphasized. For one thing, it would be a bit of a trouble to work with it with this rotary sander, and for other one, having this kind of hard outline is actually pretty fun. It might end up looking as a binding, because we obviously masked off a lot of the places here. And you know, the fun thing is that I already like it this way, but this will be even better, trust me. So the antique ash finish looks good, let's give it that. It looks very nice, but I think we can do even better. That's why what I have prepared for today is some purple dye, and well, you see bits and pieces here and there, which means I experimented a little bit and I know that it should look good. So let's go ahead and apply the purple dye. Hey everybody, so as you probably noticed in the previous time-lapse, I actually ended up sanding the whole guitar down and repainting it. So the first time I made a kind of a mistake. I was going over the purple again with purple, and then what happens with this specific dye is if you go purple over purple, it becomes kind of a bronze and eventually green color, and that's exactly not what I was looking for. And also I kind of left this hand carved area black at first, and I got a lot of dye from black saturated with purple, and then it all got into the body and it didn't turn out right. So I sanded the whole thing down, and now this looks much better. I'm not sure what you think about it. Leave it down in the comments. I guess for me this looks much better, much brighter than it was on the first try. So now it's essentially a matter of taking the masking tape down, which I'm excited to do, seeing if you have any leaking happening and so on, and then, you know, probably touching it up here and there, final sanding the neck and so on, and I guess moving to the oiling part and finish. So let's take the masking tape off. I'll start with this place here because I was kind of worried, but I guess for you we could just really speed it up and then I'll show you the final result. So I think this really deserves a close-up shot. I'll try to be as smooth as possible. So we obviously have some leaking happening here and there, and that's just how the wood is. It's flowing. Here it's pretty good for the most part. And here as well. So it's really just the end grain that is kind of tricky, but I think that's something we could fix, I think. So I decided to add one little detail before we start oiling the guitar, is this part of the headstock. I was initially debating whether I should leave the natural wood this part or leave this part natural. Finally, I decided that since we are going to have our tuners here, which are nice and gold, I want to have some kind of a contrast for them. So that's why we are also painting this nice and purple. And nothing new here. Just cover it all up and we are good. Yep, that's it. Alright guys, the time has come. It's finally time to make this wood come and become shiny and make this whole thing alive. So it's all stained, the headstock is also stained very nicely. We have natural back and the neck, and we are going to be using different types of oil. So what I have here is Danish oil and lemon oil. Danish oil is a bit thinner than lemon oil. This one is a bit thicker, so I'm going to serve with several coats of Danish oil. As far as the process goes, in comparison to different clear coats and so on. This is very simple. We just follow the directions from the back of the can. So for example, here it says apply it, pretty much flush the whole wood surface with it, and then let it penetrate for 15 minutes, then wipe it on again, let it penetrate, and then wipe it off. So pretty much that's it. So I'll probably be doing 2 coats of Danish oil, and then after we are done with that, I'm going to be doing some lemon oil. It's a thicker one, but it gives the wood a really nice polished surface look. So again, lemon oil, we'll do this later on. Again, there is no much of a need to do any discussions as we do it, because it's pretty straightforward. The only thing I wanted to point out really quickly is that for every type of oil I'm going to be using 2 rags. So 2 rags for Danish oil and 2 rags for lemon oil. The issue is this beautiful purple stained, shall I say, top? It's not really a top, it's just the purple stained body, the top of the body. Let's put it this way. It has a lot of stain in it, and if I use the same rag, it will spread the purple stain all over the guitar. This might end up looking good, but at the same time this might look bad. So I'm not exactly sure how it will work out. So to be on the safe side, I'm going to be using 2 rags for each type of oil. And if you're doing this, if you have a wooden cover, don't forget to put in the cover, because otherwise, you know, it's going to stay out and it's not going to receive any oil. So yeah, pretty much enjoy this time lapse of wiping on and wiping off. You know, there is not many more things to discuss, just this. Let's do it. So as you see, this already looks amazing after 2 coats of Danish oil, and now we are just going to finish this up with some lemon oil. It smells better, and it's a bit of a thicker oil, and the way this applies, it sits more on top than it really penetrates, although it penetrates to some degree as well. Important thing is that this gives a very nice polished surface look to the wood. So let's crack on.